Aloha, folks, and welcome to this latest edition of 5 Questions. It is a conversation with folks in our community that appears here on the Rick Hamada program, but also on the homepage of Hawaii Reporter. And it's a delight that we're welcoming our Senate Vice President, Donna Mercado Kim, representing the 14th District. And, Donna, it's a pleasure to connect, and aloha to you.
Aloha. Happy New Year, Rick. I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm enjoying talking to you.
Thank you so very much. And, the number one question is, how's your golf game, Donna?
I don't have a golf game anymore. I think the last time I golfed might have been in October.
Yeah, that's about you and me. I understand. Well, that's it. Thank you for joining us for this edition. No.
I wish I had time to play golf.
I know. I have
In fact, I'm
forgotten.
afraid to pick up a club, to be honest with you, because I really don't know where the ball's going to go.
You know, at least you know where your golf clubs are. They're somewhere in the garage.
I have to dust them out.
Exactly. Well, listen, we've got a lot on the table because a new session is coming our way. So I'd love to get your take on the priorities and preview of the upcoming session.
Okay. Where would you like me to start?
Alphabetically, maybe. No.
Well, the budget is always at the top of the list, and it's no different this year. I know the governor came out with his budget, and his budget was balanced, but that was prior to the Council of Revenue January's projection, and they dropped that projection. So now the budget actually is not balanced, and in the out years, we're looking very dismal at this point in time. Yeah. And I anticipate that the Corps will be dropping it again in March. And I say that because this last projection did not include the 2 hospitals that closed, some of the businesses that are closing down. And, I anticipate that that's going to be a ripple effect into the next projection. Yeah. So the budget's not as rosy. I didn't anticipate that it would be as rosy. But, we need to still look at cutting costs, being more efficient, which I think is something that government has a very hard time doing.
That's a tough nut, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for example, just in today's in our budget briefings, we were talking about the overtime costs and all of the vacancies, and there's been a freeze in hiring. And one of the questions I said that if we're paying more for overtime because we're not able to fill those positions, then are you making a case to BNF to allow you to hire these positions? Because it's ridiculous that we're paying time and a half instead of hiring a person that can do the job, right? I mean, we still have to pay the money out and more. So
that's one
we have
good
to do
example.
a better job. We have to do a better job at that. I don't know how we do it, but we need to.
I know budget looms large, and I think that comes to our second question specifically, and that appreciating greatly your service on the city council. And I remember the days when you were chairing the budget committee. And
actually, I never chaired the budget committee.
I thought you did. Well, didn't you?
No, I chaired the zoning committee my whole time.
Really?
That I was there, yeah. I was on the budget committee, but I never chaired the budget committee.
Oh, you know what? You should have chaired the committee. You know what I mean?
I was Ways and Means 2009 and 10 here in the Senate.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But no, on the council, I was with the zoning committee.
Isn't that something? And isn't it funny that my impression of you dealt almost with a budget because you were the most honest and outspoken member that talked about our fiscal situation then.
Yeah, I was very vocal then and continue to be. But, with the zoning, because it's so connected, right, because of the land use and all of that, that's why you probably
I guess so.
Question. Yeah.
That's it. Well, I'm going to have to take that off of the title that I have online for it. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I just throw in a little thing?
Please.
When I was on the city council doing zoning, one of the things that came up was Colina back then and the timeshares, and there was a whole bunch of controversy and different things we had to do, but today we're seeing the results of that. I mean, if you go to the Disney Aulani Resort, it's because of the zone changes that we made back then.
Amen.
And finally coming to pass. So, I just kind of want to toot my horn in
that. I'm glad.
I'm just happy to see that come about.
Very nice.
It's a wonderful addition.
Amen to that. Amen. And of course, we could get into Waimanalo Gulch, but this is only a short conversation. We'll have to come back for about a 3-hour segment, I think.
Okay.
But nonetheless, we would really appreciate your opinion of exactly, many of us are struggling to figure out exactly where are we financially as a state.
Well, as I just said earlier, that It's not as rosy as it appears to be. However, I don't think it's as bad as some of the states across the country. I think if we tighten our belts, I think if we continue to be diligent and try to be more efficient, I think we'll be fine. But we can't lose sight of that. We can't, kind of exhale and say, okay, the worst is behind us and let's get back on the spending train again, because it's only going to put us back in the hole. I don't think we're ever going to be back to the levels that we were in the past.
Yeah. I think what drives the question has to do with, unfunded mandates where
exactly
you have ERS and we have health, and then we have a bond float of $1.3 billion on top of tax increases the previous term, and
we raided the hurricane fund,
and we
raided the rainy day fund.
Yeah, exactly. So it just seems like we're really putting the Band-Aids on a couple of different places.
Mm-hmm. And we're restructuring debt and so forth, so it's still there.
Right.
It's still there. So future generations will have to pay for all of this.
Wow.
So
we going to be able to get out of this in our generation, do you think?
Well, I hope so. I mean, if we're diligent about it and we keep at it, but that's the thing,
Yeah, we started the conversation with that. It's difficult to understand. I do want to ask a question that's going to come up, and more so maybe even this session than last, because of the finances, pro-gambling agencies, individuals really think this could be the year where some sort of gaming would come in. Your thoughts about that, Donna?
I don't think it will. I don't believe there's a vote in the legislature for it. It is an election year, and I know the governor is talking about it, but what's being floated is a standalone casino. I don't think there's a lot of support for a standalone casino at this point in time. I support a form of gaming. I have introduced measures on allowing slot machines, poker, and slot machines in resort areas in Waikiki. I think that late at night our tourists don't have a lot to do, and they always can find $20, $30, $40, $50 to drop into a slot machine as a form of entertainment, and 7 million visitors doing that could amount to a lot. I don't want to see us doing it on the backs of our residents, and so that's why I'm saying, if we limit it to resort areas, you have to be a registered guest. You can't stop people, obviously, local people. You can't stop them from going to Vegas, but, you don't want it to be the pastime of our islands, and that's what scares me about the internet gaming proposal that we recently had some information about.
It's interesting because there seems to be a tremendous amount of confidence from those, throughout the community. And I'm thinking of one organization specific about the standalone that says, listen, they've addressed all the concerns, they have all the issues answered, the constraints and the limitations and the regulation, and when you dangle $400 million or a $1 million unrefundable fee in front of people where this would be realized by the state, would it be the House that would say no? Is it the Senate that would say no? It just seems that's a whole lot of cash when we're facing tough times.
I don't believe that there's enough votes in the House and the Senate. And, I had a bill last year to put the question on the ballot, and I just couldn't even get it out of my committee. So I think if the vote went to the people that they would pass it. I think it would be a close vote, but I think it would pass that they want some form of gaming. But again, that's the question. What form is it going to take? And if it's one standalone casino, now I'm not sure. Would people come and would people go? I'm not talking about local people. I'm talking about the tourists to here because we have one casino. Right. I mean, every time I go to a place and they might have one casino, I'm very leery about going in there because where's the competition? Who's checking on it? I mean, what's the payback like and all of that?
Yeah.
It raises questions and concerns. So I don't know. I'm not one that is very big on the one casino. And then again, the opponents are saying, well, you got one, then you have two, and you have three, and so forth. And, what's going to stop that from happening? And then is it going to be available to the residents to go?
Right. Well, listen, we're going to look forward. That's going to be one of the hotly debated ones. I
think the internet gaming is going to be one of the hot things.
Yeah.
Because the federal government just recently, a few weeks ago, said that it wasn't illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see that coming up. And, you know, you can be by the poolside on your BlackBerry or on your iPad, and you can be gambling.
Yeah, not me. I got other things to do if I'm poolside.
I know. So, you know, you can be playing Angry Birds for money.
Don't tell Zachary that. He'll want to jump in, believe me. Goodness gracious.
I know.
Goodness.
That's kind of scary at this point.
Oh, my. We're talking with Senate Vice President Donna Mercado Kim and enjoying the 5 questions with Donna today. We'd like to switch over to...
You mean that's not 5 questions yet?
No, well, it depends on the county. See, I'm using the same accounting method the state does.
I
with
knew
tax
you were going to say
that. The fourth area would be with your chairmanship of 2 committees, and tourism, and a relatively new committee of accountability.
Yes.
With tourism, we're still dedicating about $65 million to HTA, and
yes.
we also contribute another $35 million, I believe
33.
it is. 33 to debt service to the convention center and ops. Investment doing very well in those areas still, Donna, and what's your forecast for us coming up for tourism?
Well, you know, HTA used to get in excess of $80 million, and we have scaled them back because of everything that's going on. But considering that they're doing the same or better with less money at this point in time. And tourism is our number one industry at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, we're always looking at the paper to see the visitor count is up, they're spending more money, and that's why we're getting more revenue. And so the reason they're capped is the rest of the money, in excess of $90 million, is going into the general fund to help balance the rest of the budget. So they are certainly contributing to our economy and to us balancing the budget. Now, we have to be very cognizant, though, of, you know, the world and the visitors around the world and the competition that's out there. And it's not an industry that we can just slough off. I mean, we have to pay attention to it. And so that's pretty much what our committee is doing, and paying attention to what's going on the neighbor islands and making sure that whatever money we have, that we're spending it efficiently and effectively. And that's always been my number one goal.
Sure. And also as chair of accountability, the examination of state agencies and departments, et cetera.
I'd like to do more of that. And the committee needs to get the referral by leadership. And it's very difficult because we don't have any resources to be able to actually go out and investigate. So I have to rely upon information from employees, whistleblowers, people coming in, and I get quite a few of that. But to get the actual evidence and proof and documentation to go into an investigation, that's always very difficult. And, you know, the retaliation that occurs with these employees is very difficult. So as a result, we haven't really done anything. I've had a number of people saying we should look into this and we need to look into that. We need to look into overtime abuses. But short of having any kind of hard evidence, you know, we just don't want to go on, you know, witch hunt at this point.
Sure. Maybe we can do a telethon with you on KHVH, and you know we can raise the funds for accountability.
Yes, yes. Because you'd be surprised. Well, no, you won't be surprised. But there is so much waste going on. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of things that I'm going to be bringing up in our budget briefings in the next week. So it's going to astound you.
Well, we're looking forward to that, and thank you for that chairmanship. I know that we did promise 5 questions, so here's the 32nd in our line today, but this has to do with HSTA contract and Race to the Top. I'd like to get your opinion of where we are today, and I've asked this of others, but an explanation of how we got to the point where we're in such a precarious position with the feds in regard to retaining the funds.
Well, you know, I'm happy that we finally got it resolved. And that the teachers will finally be able to concentrate on teaching our keiki and not having to be worrying about their contract. But this whole thing with Race to the Top, interesting enough, I found out that, you know, the money that we're talking about, the $75 million, that none of that money can be used for classrooms. None of that money can be used to purchase stuff. That money is to get consultants. I mean, interesting
Really?
enough, so, we're spinning our wheels because we might lose $75 million, and yet, from what I'm told, that money actually don't go back into the classroom or into the school. So I think we need to examine that a little bit more carefully. Not that it's not important, but I think we need to really understand what it is we're vying for. And but at the same time, I think that the goals for Race to the Top, that we need to evaluate our teachers and we need to have accountability, I think is important.
Right, and that provision in the contract in HSTA, at least as of this conversation, Donna, they have yet to ratify it. Is that correct, or have they?
No, they haven't ratified yet, but I'm confident that
Yeah.
they probably will. I think there's been a better understanding of what's going on, and I think the teachers, agree that these things are important. And so I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful.
Well, this has been a treat to get together and have a chat. I hope during the session, if time avails, that we'll be able to do this quite a bit during the year.
Can I throw something out? I know this can be
Please.
5A or 5B.
Okay.
Question. But with Tesoro announcing that they want to sell their refinery,
Yes.
and we have only 2 refineries, and they're the largest one. And the state is really, all of us are at the mercy of our refineries, and so the question becomes: should the state step in at some point? I mean, that's one of the questions that I'm asking. How do we take control of our oil issue and so forth? And with Tesoro stepping out, what's going to happen? I think that's a serious issue that we need to really pay attention
Definitely.
to. So maybe some of your listeners would want to jump in on on that. But so I'm looking into where are we going to go now.
Amen. I mean, you're absolutely right. We're around the water cooler that perhaps a suitor would be, forthcoming, and maybe the continuity would remain, but nothing's guaranteed, obviously, at this point, other than we know that Tesoro's leaving. So you're absolutely right. Let's go ahead and do this again. We'll do 5 questions after these. Let's make it 10 questions right now, Donna, while we're on a roll.
Okay,
Oh,
we'll do that in the future.
That's a deal. Listen,
okay.
Thank you.
Good talking to you, and I just want to say aloha to all your listeners.
We appreciate it greatly, Donna.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now. Senator Donna Mercado Kim, she is the Senate Vice President, and we'll look forward to further conversations as the legislative session begins. And thanks for joining us for this edition of 5 Questions. We'll see you next time.